How do you move to an entirely different field from auditing to consulting? I've gotten this question so many times. And if you're new here, hi, my name is Carmen. I used to be an auditor, I'm now a management consultant working for Accenture. I've got a lot of questions about how I went from auditing to consulting. How is consulting like? So I thought I would share about my story. Firstly, I really wanted to move because I think accounting was a bit of a cap for my potential.
I don't want to work.
I didn't see myself progressing and going up that corporate ladder. I know my strengths and my interests, and accounting didn't quite fit. I also wanted to try something else, not for the sake of my visa. So I actually was an international when I started my career in auditing, and back then I already really wanted to try consulting, but I didn't get the chance to because of my visa situation. So now that I'm a permanent resident, I figured, hey, the time is now. So anyway, before I decided on that, I did have a little quarter life crisis. I spoke to over 20 professionals, did a lot of soul searching, just to figure out where I see myself.
What am I gonna do?
What I learned is if you're in the accounting professional services role, there's typically three exit routes. You either move out of accounting altogether, or you move from accounting, like private practice, to commercial accounting, which is basically you are working for a company as their accountant. And the last option that I've seen is people moving within public practice. They just shift to a different team and department, which is what I did. So I'm still in the professional services umbrella, but instead of auditing and doing accounting, I'm in consulting now. It's quite different, except for the fact that it's still professional services where we're still in a client-facing role. We're providing professional services to businesses that requires any support with growing their business and etc. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying accounting is awful.
No, let me finish.
It is not for everyone, obviously, and I have met people who really enjoy their work. It can be rewarding and fulfilling as well if that's what you enjoy, but I always wanted to do something more creative, and I really enjoy working with people. Plus, I was always quite interested in businesses, so consulting just fit so well because I know that I will learn really cool things about how consultants help these businesses solve complex problems. Let's maybe take a step back. If you are at the crossroads and you're not sure where to go, maybe do some soul searching and ask yourself some questions like, in your next job, what lifestyle are you after? What type of work are you after? What are the people you want to work with, and what is your ideal work culture? So in terms of lifestyle, I knew I wanted flexibility and the option to work from home or work from another country if the situation calls for it. Consulting fits into the bill, at least the company I work for anyway.
Oh, thank God.
Second, I knew I wanted to do more impactful work that is more interesting and would challenge me a little bit more to see beyond, to be more future forward instead of looking to the past. I knew I wanted to also work with people that are like-minded, ambitious, driven, and also want to do impactful work. And lastly, I knew I wanted to be in a work culture where I can bring myself fully. My employer is fully invested in my growth and taking care of me. Obviously, that is a lot to ask for and it's difficult to have everything ticked, but I'm so grateful because I think I found the role and the company that ticked pretty much all of it. Anyway, back to you. If you're still unsure what you want, what you don't want, you can ask your friends. Ask them, what do you think you would be good at? That's actually what I did, and my friend suggested, oh, have you thought of management consulting? So I was like, oh, maybe I will look into it. So then I did, and now I'm here. So you never know. Plus, in terms of soul searching, you can also reflect on your existing work experience. My mentor used to tell me, if you don't know what you want, maybe start with what you don't want. I knew I didn't want to do repetitive, mind-numbing tasks or month-end reconciliations.
Boring, right? So boring.
I also knew that I didn't want to get out of professional service altogether because I do enjoy being exposed to different industries. And I really like that part because I'm not fully sold on a single industry or company just yet, but just doing different type of work. I really wanted to see if I can, do some advisory kind of forward-looking work. So I just pretty much set that aside and I started to do my due diligence by talking to all these people who are in these areas that I'm quite interested in. The first group of people are people who moved up from public practice to commercial accounting, and what I found is most of them really do quite enjoy their job. They find it more fulfilling because they're directly contributing to the growth of the company. You get to know the company more in depth. Lastly, the work-life balance is usually there. It's quite flexible depending on the company you're working at as well. Overall, it's quite positive, and there are downsides to it. That is, the progression is not as aggressive and as predictable as when you're in a professional services environment. I'm sure you've maybe heard of this, but the way you move out is either the person above you is promoted or they leave or they die. But that's what I've heard, and that's why I see a lot of people jumping around to other companies because they're capped, because there's no position available, so they just have to move to another company. The next group of people are people who are still in public practice, but not in auditing or like the same thing that are at, and most of the time they're really happy even if they don't have it all figured out, because they're just happy that they're trying something different. I think you do tend to move closer to where you eventually be at as you continue to filter through your options. The last group of people were obviously the consultants. So now that I'm in consulting, I can confirm there's a lot more calls in consulting. There's a lot more communication that's involved. When I was in auditing, probably have meetings once a week or less. And in consulting, you do find that sometimes you work in teams to deliver on a deliverable to the client, which I really quite enjoy. It's quite interesting as well, working with all these different people. Anyways, back to the how and my story, I guess. After doing my soul searching, my due diligence, talking to all these people, I started to prepare for the interviews. How do I prepare also depends on what job I'm applying for. I was scouring through job ads on LinkedIn, on Seek, just to see what company is hiring, what role. Pretty much did that every day just to see what's out there. And I did actually also reach out to recruiters.
And you're gonna give me what I want.
And I must say this whole process was about 4 months, and it was quite challenging. I had to brush up my interview skills, get my resume ready, cover letter, all that. And it made me feel like a graduate again, which actually brought back a lot of not so happy memories. My self-esteem was kind of low when I started as a graduate, so it brought back a lot of these memories when I was going through this process. But looking back, I'm really grateful that all of that happened, because it really made me figure out what I wanted and how do I best prepare myself in my next interview. One day I stumbled upon Accenture. They're hiring for a management consultant. I immediately reached out to my friend who works at this company just to ask, hey, do you know the team I'm applying to? Are they hiring? So she introduced me to the practice lead, and it was honestly so smooth. I was not that nervous at all. I really think that all the rejections and the interviews really got me ready, and
I'm ready.
when this opportunity came out, I was just so relaxed. All I had to do was show up as myself. I already knew what experience I have, what skills I'm after, why am I moving, what I'm interested in. It was already so natural for me to spell it out and talk about it. So by the time it came, it was just so smooth, actually so good as well. I think it's a bit different when it depends on the company you're applying for and the experience that you have. But with Accenture, I didn't have a case study. It was 3 interviews, 1 interview with the director, and it was really casual as well. 1 interview with the practice lead, also very casual. And the last one was with a senior manager, and it was an online interview. It was called a skills interview, which basically means they will ask me questions to showcase my experience and how my experience and my skill sets fits into this role that I'm applying for. In terms of how I prepared for that interview, it's pretty standard. It's like questions that you get when you're a graduate, right? Like, how do you demonstrate leadership or problem solving? And I already have a few examples that I've practiced a few times, so it came really naturally. And I used the STAR technique as well. So S stands for situation, T task, A action, R result. And in that framework, pretty much it came quite naturally. And as I said, it does get better as you practice more. In terms of case studies, if you are planning to apply for a role in consulting, most of the time there are case studies. I just Googled it and went on to YouTube. There are lots of resources out there. I can link a few if you are preparing for a consulting case study. So hopefully that would help. It will also help if you can reach out to someone who's already in consulting, so they can sit down with you and actually kind of do a mock case study with you, so you're a bit more familiar with the flow and what to expect. Anyways, when I finally got the offer from Accenture, I was so happy. I was fully expecting myself to take a pay cut since I'm transitioning into a different field. I was also expecting a step back from my level, but to my surprise, I actually got a step up and a pay bump. I still don't know how it happened, to be honest. I think I just really put my intentions out there and I really tried to work so hard for it. I could have went the easy route and gone with a recruiter or gone into commercial accounting or gone into auditing again to another big four, but I really wanted to try this for myself, and it's the first job that I think I've got that is truly what I wanted to try, not because of my visa requirements. So I really hope that the story inspired you a little. As a recap of my top 3 tips that I shared on this work transition: number 1, dig deep, ask yourself the big questions. Don't be afraid to do some soul searching. It's okay if it takes a while, but even more so, it's okay if you don't have it all figured out. Also, we all don't have it all figured out. I'm still figuring it out. Number 2, do your due diligence by talking to the people in the field and company, if possible, that you're planning to apply to. They usually are able to give you the most accurate information on what is happening right now. You can only do so much by doing online searching, right? Number 3 is prepping for interviews, getting your resume and CV ready. Keep it simple and concise, and practice your interviews with someone that you trust. If you need to, go onto YouTube and look up how to do a case study. I wish you all the best with your career and your work transition if you're currently looking to apply for another job. And I really hope that my whole journey inspired you or gave you some courage or even some insights into what this whole process looks like. So if you have any content ideas, any questions at all, please definitely leave it in the comment section below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next week for an International Women's Day special. Bye now.